the fact. That was the craziest thing about the show. The show became popular after it was canceled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because it was on reruns on whatever, everywhere.
And it was attached to so much controversy because Phil Hartman was murdered before the final season. Yeah. There was all so much
Was that
weirdness.
the crazy... I mean, that must have been the saddest, most intense thing in the world.
That was... It taught me a lot. First of all, it taught me do not stay in one of those evil relationships, because there's people that just don't work together, and they try to make it work together, and they wind up fucking hating each other. And that was him and her. It was ugly, and I tried to get him to divorce her several times, and he was terrified of losing his image, terrified of losing money. I mean, he just didn't want to be a divorced Hollywood bachelor guy. His image was the family guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a married man, family guy, everything's great.
And everything about him is like, I look like a nice man.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
The funniest.
But he was living in hell. It was awful. Yeah, she would like openly insult him at parties and stuff. And you'd just cringe.
Just like toxic.
She hated him. You know, and she wound up shooting him in his sleep. I mean, it was
That's so intense, man.
Yeah, as ugly as it gets. I mean, he took like NyQuil or something like that to go to sleep, and she shot him in the head while he was sleeping.
Jesus. And how did you guys did you just find out on like a next day, or like how do you?
I found out. I think I got a phone call. Yeah, that's what it was. I got a phone call.
Because this is like this is pre-cell phone, pre-email probably.
Yeah, it was 90, I want to say 98. I guess I had a phone, but I mean, I guess I had a cell phone.
Yeah.
I had a shitty Motorola StarTAC. Yeah. Remember those?
Razor. They are not even there. Yeah.
About 47 minutes of talk time before it fucking run out of battery. But actually, now that I remember, I found about it. This is crazy. I found out about it from a girl I'd gone on a date with, who worked for like one of those shows, like Hard Copy or something like that. She called me up and she was trying to send a news crew to my house. I was like,
what a nice person.
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Jesus.
She's like, we have to interview you. We're gonna send a crew to your house. Like, what? And then I tuned in the news, and there was this is what it was really weird. There was helicopters flying over Phil's house, and then there was that guy who was in Cocoon, who was like a really famous actor for a while, but he lost his fucking marbles. Who was that guy that was in Cocoon? He was a young, handsome guy.
Steve Guttenberg? No.
Is that his name? Was it Gutenberg?
Yes.
Yeah. It was him. Yeah. That guy lost his mind. He lost his mind. And his career had fallen apart. So he had... Pull up a photo of Steve Guttenberg. Let me make sure it's him before I tell this fucking story.
Yeah.
Let me see. What is it? Is that what he looks like now?
That's what it looked like back then.
Yes. So see if you can Google Steve Guttenberg at Phil Hartman's murder, because he had decided that he was going to talk to the police.
He talked to CNN.
He was going to talk to the press. So he put on like a suit. And he got out there, and he was out there talking to the press, and we were all like, "What the fuck is he doing?" I mean, you don't hear about this guy anymore, right? He kind of vanished.
Yeah.
But he had already vanished back then. It was already like...
It was post all those movies, to the police academy and all that shit.
And there's a weird thing that happens to some of these guys where they're
like,
it's all gone.
Right. And then they're like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to get back on camera.
And we were all of us were like, how well did he know Steve Guttenberg? Like, what the fuck is going on? It was the strangest thing. Him standing there with a suit on, talking to all the press and talking to people.
That's so weird.
It was so weird. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he did have this wonderful relationship that Phil never talked about.
Yeah.
But I was pretty close to Phil. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, I think... There's a certain weirdness to talking to the press about someone who's just been murdered, and people that are willing to like go on camera and give interviews and stuff. It's like, aren't you mourning? Aren't you freaked out? Like, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I someone I just was time. This is a slightly changed, but it was someone was like, "Do you remember where you were when the OJ verdict was written?" I was in high school. I climbed a tree. So,
Why'd you climb a tree?
so that people be like, "Where were you when the OJ verdict was?" In a tree.
I remember I was with my girlfriend at the time, and she threw her hands on her face and went, "Oh no, oh no!" She just kept saying, "Oh no."
Really?
She just went, "Oh no." Oh no!
Were you in L.A.?
Yeah, we were watching it in my apartment. We were watching the verdict, and I was dumbfounded. I thought he was going to jail. Everybody thought he was going to jail, and she just kept going.
No.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I just remember being in high school.
I knew Ron Goldman's sister too.
Really?
Yeah, that was real weird. Yeah. Yeah, I knew his sister. And,
well, because also like Ron Goldman's father, and I have no I can't imagine, I can't even begin to fathom what that whole experience would be for anyone. But he was like, he felt very performative to me. Like he felt like he was, again, I say this with all due respect. Like, I don't know what it's, I would have no sense of what that experience is like. But there are certain people who you're like, oh, you do like being on camera. I know something horrible happened to you, but you did like being on camera. I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, who the fuck knows how you would
I don't know
react
how I would react.
if your son was murdered by some superstar.
Yeah.
Like, just think about how crazy that is. Not just murdered, but murdered by a famous guy.
Yeah. Who then is like
Got
weird,
off.
flaunted and got off.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And it was a part of this weird race thing where it was post Rodney King. So there was a lot of people that felt like there was some sort of a racist aspect to it. That like there was racist cops who got off with Rodney King. So now it's their chance to get one for black folks.
Yeah.
And talked to people about it, you know.
It's that crazy. Did you watch did you watch the OJ, the documentary, and then also there was the FX show?
I watched one episode of the FX show, and I was like, damn, Cuba Gooding Jr. fucking nailed it. He really seemed like OJ in it. It was really good. Yeah. But that's all I watched.
The documentary is interesting because it sets up like L.A., all like that, the preceding years leading up to it. Post riots, all that stuff, like, and you're like, oh, it does like lend itself to be like, oh, this was a perfect confluence of events that led to this thing of like, you know, racial, everything that went into the OJ trial. It's fucking nuts. It's crazy.
It was a strange, strange time. It was a strange time because it just seemed like the world was made of something that was way more flexible than I ever thought it was before. Like, I never thought O.J. Simpson could be a murderer. I thought murderers were bad people. And that the people that you thought of that were good people on TV, you would never think of. Like, O.J. was always so friendly and smiley, and he would have that big laugh, and he was handsome. And
talk about head injuries to CTE. It's like you're like, I wonder what.
For sure had to do with it. 100%, 1,000 million %.
Right.
In fact, his doctor said that if the trial were to take place today, his doctor at the time, they would introduce CTE.
Yeah. And you see all those dudes. I mean, like the level of violence that there he is.
There he is. That's right. Police Academy.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun.
That's
right.
So he's funny in Naked Gun. But it's interesting. You go back and watch that documentary, and it's like, you know, his buddies, his good buddies who stood by him.
Look at that picture.
Yeah. His good buddies who stood by him talk about him in high school, and he's kind of like he was fucking throwing his friends under the bus in high school.
Really?
Like all three of them would be like doing some like in the bathroom, like doing some shit they're supposed to be in class, and the principal would come in, and the three of them are all together, and OJ would just like saddle up next to the principal and be like, "What are we gonna do with these two guys?" You know what I mean? He was like throwing his buddies under the bus. You're like, oh, he was CTE fucked him up. I don't know what kind of man he would have been, like whether he would have been so violent or whatever. But
so
you're
he's
like,
a piece of shit plus CTE.
It kind of felt like he was a piece of shit his whole life.
Well, how about the book, If I Did It? How crazy is that he wrote a book? If I didn't do it.
If I did it. Did you have you ever seen his prank show? Juiced?
Oh, yes. That's post the murder.
Oh, yeah. Post the murder, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Did you ever see his rap song?
No.
Oh, young Jamie, find it.
Yeah.
Look at him. Look at
Oh
him.
yes. This was part of that juiced, I think, thing, right? It's in that same thing.
Was
and
it? Part of Juice?
It's just like, and it's all these like
Young little hotties.
young little hotties who look like Nicole. It's so fucking weird.
What is that picture of him with the glasses?
That's
With
from
the
one of the
bald head?
sketches.
Look at that.
That is
What?
crazy.
What in the fuck is that? Boy, he can go anywhere with that. He can go to Disneyland
Yeah,
just
he'll
like
be
that.
fine.
That's
Have
what
you
you
seen
do if
that-
you're that famous and you did something awful like that.
You got to go in disguise.
How many chicks bang him just because he's OJ?
Now?
Probably a lot.
You think still people are? You still think people are gonna
Yes.
bang him?
Yes, 100%.
I
What did it say?
wonder.
OJ pretended he would what? What does it say?
Got hold of this guy.
He pretended to cuckold this guy? Oh, God, the poor guy. You
I don't
imagine?
know, man. I wonder.
100%.
You
There's
think
a lot
people
of, there's wacky broads that want to bang murderers.
Really? Yes,
Yeah.
I buy. Yeah, I guess so.
There's a guy that we had in here, Nick Yaris, who went to jail. He was on death row for 20 years for a crime 22 years for a crime that he didn't commit. And he said since getting out, he's just in it. He was asking on the podcast with these women to stop sending him emails. I'm married. I have a good relationship. Like, please leave me alone. Like, stop testing me. And like,
Really?
yeah, they just throw that pussy his way.
Interesting.
Yeah, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
That guy apparently got all these women were sending him pictures and email, or what was letters actually.
Yeah.
And he wound up marrying some woman.
Really?
Yeah, they
Manson.
all
Manson's married. Manson got married.
Yeah, a lot of them get married. Yeah.
Fuck.